Pode não parecer, mas o mundo já não é mais o mesmo. O dia de hoje está transformando completamente o amanhã. O tempo passa rápido. As tendências vêm e vão, mas o que sempre permanece é a vontade de evoluir, de renovar, de se reinventar. Quando falamos de renovação, estamos falando de algo dinâmico. Não há mudança que surja do estático. E não há futuro que se trace sem observar o passado. Por isso, é necessário que o Kona Life traga algo maior à análise da evolução da liderança feminina até o momento, traçando um paralelo com o que é esperado desse crescimento. Devemos gerar conectividade. O Life surge com o propósito de trazer luz ao contexto no qual a mulher está inserida e, assim, elevar o debate e ampliar o alcance para avançar continuamente nas 4 dimensões: individual, familiar, organizacional e sociedade. Conheça o Life e participe.
Olá, muito boa noite a todos. Sou a Suzana, vice-presidente de Gente, Cultura e Sustentabilidade na RD, Raia Drogasil, e também atuo como voluntária na ABRH São Paulo como vice-presidente. Junto ao Guilherme e os demais colegas diretores da instituição, trabalhamos sempre na intenção de contribuir com o desenvolvimento daqueles que fazem a gestão de pessoas e buscam mudar para melhor a realidade das suas empresas. Preciso dizer que hoje o meu coração bate mais forte. Bate mais forte, em parte, pelo que estamos realizando com o reposicionamento do Kona Life, Congresso Nacional da Liderança Feminina, que evolui para ser algo maior e mais fluido, com alcance, algo mais presente na vida das pessoas e das organizações. Para tanto, criamos uma plataforma, o Life. Bate mais forte porque reunimos em torno desta nova ambição a melhor qualidade de gente e profissionais que poderíamos ter neste novo começo. Realizar este projeto é tarefa de gigantes, no compromisso, na dedicação, na disponibilidade, no debate, na confiança e no entusiasmo de construir algo além de nós mesmos, algo para durar. E em grande parte por ser nosso dever promover uma sociedade mais igualitária, combatendo os vieses históricos e inconscientes, promovendo assim uma análise no tempo para melhor compreender o contexto atual e projetar um futuro mais equilibrado. Não pretendemos ser ativistas, não é essa a nossa vocação. Queremos sim elevar o debate, investigar as barreiras limitantes, trazer dados, estatísticas e avançar para algo relevante do bem comum. Portanto, a conversa é de todos nós, homens e mulheres. Quero então agradecer aos queridos amigos que realizam esta 5ª edição. Fernanda Caraciolo, minha amiga, colega de trabalho na RD, Vânia de Farias, da ABRH São Paulo, a professora Maria José Tonelli, da Fundação Getúlio Vargas, Lilian Guimarães, mentora e conselheira, Lia Azevedo, executiva de Capital Humano, Maria Fernanda, CEO da Integrou e conselheira, Adriana Carvalho, da ONU Mulheres, Gabriela Baumgart, conselheira e empresária, Ana Paula Vitelli, presidente da Câmara de Comércio Britânica e diretora da Universidade de Manchester, aqui no Brasil. Margarete Goldenberg, do Movimento Mulher 360, Luciana Batista, sócia da Bain Company, o nosso querido Rodrigo Forte, sócio fundador da ESEC, e o nosso tão estimado Daniel Mota, que além dos seus muitos títulos, é o CEO da BMI e White Fox. Juntos, formamos o Conselho Consultivo e os comitês de curadoria e organização. A lista poderia se estender. Concluo agradecendo também aos estimados parceiros que estão conosco nesta jornada e em tantas outras da nossa associação, além das empresas que nos apoiam por ter este tema como uma iniciativa estratégica em suas agendas e em seus negócios. Life, para dar luz ao contexto no qual a mulher está inserida. Life e suas 4 dimensões: individual, familiar, organizacional e sociedade. Hoje, na abertura, o nosso tema será amplo. Nas seguintes, até novembro, cobriremos todas as 4 dimensões, trazendo renomados pensadores, pesquisadores, especialistas e profissionais que possam nos ajudar a abordar com maestria e oferecer o melhor conteúdo possível ao nosso público, composto pelos C-Level, CHROs, diretores e profissionais dos mais variados setores da indústria e áreas de atuação. Liderança feminina em movimento, life, vida, porque ela expande, ela ocupa o lugar que deseja, ela se movimenta. E a nós, tomadores de decisões, cabe pavimentar o caminho e acelerar o encurtamento dessa diferença histórica que poderia levar centenas de anos até que se torne comparável. Vou caminhando para o próximo passo da nossa agenda com o nosso querido Daniel Mota, que será o facilitador do próximo segmento. Digo antes que eu não poderia estar mais feliz e penso que persistir muitas vezes é o melhor que podemos fazer. Desde que tive o privilégio de assistir a Arianna há cerca de 2 anos e meio atrás, na National Retail Federation em Nova York, alimento a intenção de tê-la conosco, algo que agora torna-se realidade. Então, o que eu desejo é que todos nós tenhamos um final de noite para ser lembrado com muito carinho. Arianna, we are so glad to have you with us. I wish you a pleasant conversation. Please, enjoy your evening. Daniel, querido, é com você.
Thank you.
Obrigado, Suzana. Boa noite a todos aqueles que nos acompanham desde a primeira edição do Kona Life, iniciado pela ABRH São Paulo, e agora nessa 5ª edição a gente tem aqui o privilégio de iniciarmos, mesmo num contexto inédito para o mundo, esse contexto de pandemia, um movimento tão bacana em 4 dimensões desta mulher em movimento. E que bacana, que prazer, privilégio de todos nós iniciarmos com uma convidada tão especial que é a Arianna. It's a privilege to kick off our life journey in 2020 with our special guest, Mrs. Arianna Huffington. She's a global leading author of 15 books. She was also listed as one of the most influential people by Times Magazine and was recently included in Most Powerful Women list by Forbes magazine. Thrive and The Sleep Revolution were her 2 last worldwide bestsellers books. Arianna founded the Huffington Post in 2005 and sold it to AOL in 2011 for more than $300 million. In 2016, she founded Thrive Global, a behavior change tech company. Arianna, welcome on board to Life 2020.
Thank you so much, Danielle. So great to be with you and with Susanna and all the great leaders in such an important profession. Thank you.
And before we start our fireside conversation, I must say that I loved your recent article, Thoughts on Turning 70, about getting older, in which you put in perspective how we can foster wisdom and grace as we approach elderly. It's truly a wake-up call to all of us that can have a negative view on aging. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And I actually feel that your culture, Brazil, my original culture, Greece, has a reverence for the wisdom of old age. And we need to recapture it because we need that wisdom as we are facing unprecedented times. We would love to make all these articles available for your community, including, the 2 books that you mentioned, Thrive and The Sleep Revolution, have been published in Portuguese.
Yes.
So we can make them available.
Thank you, Arianna. Thank you. So let's start our fireside conversation on behalf of our opening session at Live 2020. I'd like to open this session with you, Arianna, introducing yourself and pointing out some highlights of your own journey so far. And if you could please also introduce Thrive Global Company, which now have 40 plus countries covered with 7 global offices. Once again, welcome to life, Arianna.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Really delighted to be with you. I'm a big admirer of your work, your book, Essential Leadership, and looking forward to your new book, Anthesis. Sounds like a Greek word to me. So I was born in Greece, and I was very lucky to have an amazing mother who taught me not to be afraid of taking risks and maybe failing along the way. She used to say, failure is not the opposite of success, it's a stepping stone to success. And that's particularly important for women. Very often we are perfectionists and we want to not take risks, afraid that we might fail. I studied at Cambridge. I studied economics at Cambridge in England. I moved to New York, published many books, including biographies, books on leadership. In 2005, I launched the Huffington Post. And in 2007 was the beginning of my journey that led to Thrive Global, which was I collapsed from exhaustion and burnout and sleep deprivation, buying into the collective delusion that I had to be always on in order to build a great company. I was also the divorced mother of 2 daughters. So I collapsed, and I started covering these issues at the Huffington Post. And by 2016, I left to launch Thrive Global because I wanted to help people not just improve their awareness around sleep and nutrition and exercise and mental health. And that's really the heart of Thrive Global. We have a behavior change app that covers the whole human being, recharging, nutrition, exercise, mental health, and it's an enterprise product. You know, we offer it through companies, which also creates its own community that can support us as we adopt healthier habits.
That sounds amazing, Arianna. Congratulations on your entrepreneurship as well. And I was thrilled to see that Thrive model, onward, upward, and inward. Well, I mean, I found that really amazing. And could you please explain to us how does that resonate to you? I mean, why did you choose that specific motto for the company?
Because we all know about the motto upward and onward. But I'm sure a lot of the hundreds of people who are in the audience now already believe in that. You know, they're already ambitious, they're achieving. The question is, can we also not forget that if we don't go inward, we are missing all these incredible treasures that we have within ourselves, you know, our insight, our creativity, our empathy. And this is more important than ever at a time like this, a time of deep uncertainty, when we know in Brazil and around the world, the mental health crisis is being exacerbated, depression, anxiety are skyrocketing. So it's more important than ever for people to be able to remember and recognize that we have that inner strength and resilience that we forget to tap into it. I think of it as the eye in the hurricane. You know, we are in the middle of a metaphorical hurricane, but there is an eye in the hurricane, and we need to be able to tap into it.
Mm-hmm. And given that context, that specific context that you are describing, how would you define a successful leader?
Well, a successful leader is someone who, first of all, can tap into that eye in the hurricane. because otherwise you're at the mercy of events. And especially at a time which is as challenging as now, if you can't connect with that space of inner strength and wisdom, you are not going to make your best decisions. You are not going to be able to be truly empathetic to your colleagues, to your employees, to everyone you are working with at a time when they need empathy. And you are not going to be able to tap into your creativity. You know, the ability to see the icebergs before they hit the Titanic, but also to see the opportunities that are always present in a crisis. Mm-hmm. So maybe in a very normal time, you can just do maintenance without being able to tap into your best. But in times like this, it's impossible. So that's why in our leadership playbook, we have a workshop that we do, the new leadership playbook. And we start with helping people put their own oxygen masks on first. Remember when we used to fly on airplanes, they would tell us, put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. Mm. In a lot of the workshops I've done with Accenture leaders, I talked to 300 leaders of Natura, leaders of many multinational companies who work with Walmart, Verizon, Salesforce. I hear the same point again and again, which is, I don't have the luxury to take care of myself. It's self-indulgent to go for a walk or to make sure I get enough sleep or recharge for a minute during the day. And I always counter this argument by saying, look at the data. Look at the science that shows very clearly that when you take a little time to recharge and be the best you can be, you are the best leader you can be. And Ellen Shook, the CHRO of Accenture, actually spoke about how after one of our sessions, she started walking every day again. She had stopped walking because she felt, my people need me, it's a luxury for me to go for a walk. And so when she started prioritizing her daily walk, she realized that she was a better leader. She came up with better decisions. She was more empathetic and more creative. This is just one example. And a lot of the behavior changes we recommend for leaders and for everyone, frankly, are what we call micro steps, Danielle. You know, small, daily, incremental steps that lead to healthier habits. They are not like big, overwhelming steps. So we know from science that it takes 60 seconds, for example, to course correct from stress. Like it takes 60 seconds for the cortisol stress hormone to leave our bodies. So in our behavior change app, we have what we call Reset, which is actually one of my favorite features. It's a 60-second feature. It invites the user to give us the things in their lives that are joy triggers, like pictures of their children, their pets, nature, their favorite quotes, music. And then anytime they're feeling stressed, they can take 60 seconds, 1 minute, and play it. And suddenly it reminds them of what they're grateful for in their lives, of why they love their life. And it literally starts different neural pathways in the brain. We believe that everything we're doing has to be science-based, but also bringing in storytelling. So once, let's say, the leaders of a company begin to practice these micro steps themselves, we invite them to write what is it that works for them. And then we include their stories in the app. So others within the company can see what's working, and people learn from inspiration. It motivates them when they know that leaders within the company are taking these steps, and it creates like a positive chain reaction.
It's amazing. Small things, big impact.
Small
Right?
things, big impact, exactly. In our program with Walmart, we are the exclusive wellness provider they have 2.2 million employees, they call associates. And in our work with them, we call it one better choice a day. And we've had amazing results. We've had people who lost 100 pounds, people who've reversed diabetes. But we start very small. Like if somebody is used to drinking 8 sugary sodas a day, we don't tell them to give it up. We tell them, can you start going from 8 sodas a day to 7.5? And replace that half with sparkling water with a piece of lime or lemon. Give them a swap, give them a change. And then little by little, if you go to our Thrive Zip, our program there is called Thrive Zip, ZP. If you go to our Instagram account, for example, you'll see these amazing stories. And it's so impressive to see people changing their lives. And a lot of them are frontline workers working in the stores. So this is not just a program for leaders who are now working from home. We also want to capture the people who are most vulnerable right now. Who are working in stores, working to deliver supplies to us. We need to address everybody.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about female leadership, Arianna, would you say that female leaders are different from male leaders? Would you say that success metrics, for instance, they are different depending if you are a female or a male leader?
I don't think so. There are, of course, qualities of leadership that are more identified with women, although a lot of men have them. I'm sure, Danielle, you have them, judging by your writings. But they are more identified with women. Qualities like empathy, collaboration, team building. They are available in men, of course, but women have tended to cultivate them more. I think what is important to realize is that there are no qualities that are exclusive to one sex or the other, but that women have by nature and by nurture cultivated certain qualities that now are more necessary than ever. Because right now, for example, if you don't know how to build a team, you're at a huge disadvantage. Because there's no way any leader can take it all on themselves. So learning to delegate, learning to build a team, learning to collaborate is absolutely essential. And also right now, we need to give women leaders extra support, because no matter what we say, women leaders who are also mothers have an incredible burden at this moment, because the burden of taking care of children at home is falling disproportionately on the shoulders of women. And we have all the data about that. And therefore, in our companies, we need to take that into account to see, are there special arrangements we need to make? Because women are navigating a world where they have to be leaders, mothers, wives, homeschool teachers, and all of the above.
And Arianna, talking about that specific moment that we are living, and even after pandemic times, what recommendations would you give to women who are seeking professional growth in their lives, but without losing balance with all other important dimensions in their lives?
So first of all, it's wonderful that life is focusing on women and providing a community support as women are advancing through their careers in all these areas that you cover, you know, of individuals, families, organizations, society. That's very, very important. When it comes to what you have called about the individual essence, Danielle, in your book, I think what is important here is for women to recognize that we have that voice in our heads that I call the obnoxious roommate living in our head, that tends to criticize and doubt us and judge us more than men have it. And I know because I've had that all my life and I've learned to deal with it. You know, it's the voice that would make, say, a woman, let's say, take me now. We are having this fireside conversation. I'm loving it. It's great. In the past, I would finish and then the voice in my head would say, oh, you know, I didn't like the way you said that. I think you misunderstood Danielle's question. It would literally beat me up. And it's more exhausting than anything you do. And I know a lot of women who have that. In fact, we have launched a mental health program with Stanford based on the latest Stanford brain research that identifies different stress triggers that men and women have. And there are 8 biotypes. It's a program that's available in our app. And my stress trigger is actually rumination, which is when you ruminate over a mistake you made or something you said that you could have said better. And it's totally exhausting, useless, and depleting. Instead of, we all make mistakes. We learn from them and we move on. Men are much better at doing that. And another biotype that's particularly prevalent at the moment during the pandemic is negative bias, which is when we look ahead at the future and we imagine it in very dark terms. It's basically what I call losing in our own fantasies, you know, full of negative fantasies. And I have a quote on my desk by the French philosopher Montaigne, who said, there were many terrible things in my life, but most of them never happened. So it's important to remember that, in fact, we don't know what the future holds. So why imagine the worst?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and mental health is definitely one of the key topics for 21st century. So let's switch our conversation, if you agree, to mental health. So the discussion about that issue has gained relevance in recent years, and now even more with this new pandemic that we are dealing with in Brazil, in US, and Canada, and all over the world. Do leaders play a key role in fostering that discussion in the corporate world, in your opinion, Arianna? And if so, what are your views about the role of leadership in the corporate world?
Absolutely. I think leaders play such an important role because they can help eliminate the stigma around the mental health conversation and treat mental health as part of general health. And the two are incredibly interconnected. I think we have tended to separate them. But in our app, for example, we have all the data that shows how interconnected they are. For example, sleep is essential to mental health. When we are sleep deprived, we are more likely to become anxious and depressed. It's just a fact of life. And in my Sleep Revolution book, which I'm very happy to make available to everyone, you'll see the data. In the same way, if we eat too much sugar, it's also likely to affect our moods and our mental health. These are small things. If we don't move at all, if we are completely sedentary, it's going to affect our levels of anxiety and depression. And of course, the most important thing to counter depression and anxiety is cultivating gratitude. So one of my favorite micro steps, Danielle, we have hundreds of them, but one of my favorites is to take every opportunity you can during the day to remember things you are grateful for. So I try to do it, and that's one of our micro steps. When you wash your hands, every time you wash your hands, remember 3 things you are grateful for. When you wake up in the morning, another favorite micro step of mine, 72% of people around the world, when they wake up in the morning, before they even open their eyes fully, before their feet touch the floor, they go to their phone. So they don't know what waits them on their phone. It could be bad news. It could be a bad text or email from your boss or something that you're not ready to deal with. So here's our micro step. Take 60 seconds before you go to your phone. And we all agree, if you don't have 1 minute, you don't have a life. So take 60 seconds to remember what you're grateful for. It's a new day. I'm alive. I'm awake. What am I grateful for? It's my children. Is it my dog? Is it my cup of coffee? Anything. Or set your intention for the day. What you want to achieve this day. Because if you think of it, the phone is the repository of what the world wants from you. What do you want from the day? Or simply take some deep breaths. Breath is our superpower. There is a great new study from Yale about how consciously breathing, consciously inhaling and exhaling truly affects our mental health. So my point, Danielle, is that obviously at the extreme level, there are serious medical mental health conditions. But the majority of issues are based on our behaviors and are lifestyle related, and we have a tremendous power to affect them.
It's almost like a paradox, Arianna. I mean, living in a high-tech world, and here we are talking about micro steps around basic behavior, right? And one of the things that I'm studying here a lot in Brazil, it's the impact of pandemic in our behaviors. So in your opinion, how do you see the world shaping itself after the pandemic, or with? I mean, I'm hoping that the pandemic is gone in the near future. But anyway, in terms of work, career, family, definition of success, what's the word? Is the world being more resilient after the pandemic? What's your view about that?
So, Danielle, that's a great question. I feel, first of all, the pandemic is obviously a time of enormous trial for millions of people around the world. Huge losses, losses of loved ones, of jobs, financial losses. We cannot underestimate that. But it's also a crucible. You know how crucibles are times of intense trial, but at the end of it, something new and better emerges.
Mm-hmm.
So I see the pandemic as a portal. And we can get through the pandemic, leaving behind all the things that are not working right now. We are not working before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Let me just remind you of a few of them. a mental health crisis was there even before the pandemic. Skyrocketing increases in chronic diseases like diabetes, like hypertension, that are lifestyle and behavior based.
Mm-hmm.
And also the growing inequalities that were not addressed in our society. So we can move through the pandemic and be able to address these crises that were there even before and have become worse right now. And again, we need to recognize, as you said, that even though technology is amazing and we wouldn't be able to be together here without the miracles of technology, technology alone is not going to save us. Everything we're doing around technology, we need to remind ourselves that we need a human layer. Because let me give you an example, Danielle. A lot of companies now are working on the most amazing technological innovations to help people return to offices safely. Like elevator protocols, contact tracing, amazing and very important. But if an employee comes and is completely stressed out and anxious, it doesn't matter how amazing is your technology, that person won't be able to be productive. And again, we have all the latest science. If I work for you, Danielle, and I'm really stressed out, the prefrontal cortex of my brain is weakened, and I'm moving to a fight or flight position, and my productivity goes down dramatically. And we see that now. We see people are working longer hours because they're working from home, many of them, and there is no barrier between work and life, but they're less productive. Mm-hmm. So companies, for their own interest, need to help employees address stress and anxiety if they're going to be effective at work.
And as you were saying, I mean, we saw during the pandemic, since the start of this pandemic time, we have been seeing a lot of positive actions, both by corporate and by also the society in general. And one of them is collaboration. I mean, we saw collaboration between government, the private sectors, NGOs, etc. So what would be your advice for women and men to foster collaboration and I mean, seeking and fostering a better world? And that's my last question before your closing remarks.
Well, collaboration is absolutely key, because the truth is that without collaboration, we cannot really imagine and build a new world and a new future. And that means leaders recognizing that they need to get better at delegating, that they can't be firefighters, out there putting out fires. Leaders need to recognize what is urgent, what is important, and what they have to do or what can be delegated to others. And that's all about collaboration. It's all about building strong teams. It's all about being able to recognize and empathize with your colleagues and join forces in what you're doing together. And women are very good at that, because running a family involves collaboration. And running a team is based on collaboration.
Yes, definitely, yes. Arianna, I mean, time flies, and we are concluding our fireside conversation. Again, it's a privilege, first for me, to be here live with you, and finally meet you in person, although it's virtual, but since we are having this face-to-face conversation. And I wish you to share your closing remarks, please, with us during this live 2020 opening session, please.
Thank you so much, Danielle. We covered so much ground, thanks to you and your great questions. I feel that this is an amazing time, as we discussed, that we should see as a time of incredible trial, but also real opportunity to leave behind so much that was not working and imagine and build a new world that is more empathetic, more inclusive, where women have an incredible role to play, and where a lot of the qualities traditionally considered female qualities, like empathy, like collaboration, like team building, are now more important than ever. And this is the time when, as you said, paradoxically, we need to recognize that technology alone will not save us. But technology can also paradoxically help us adopt healthier behaviors. For example, at Thrive, we bought an AI machine learning company that helps us identify what is likely to move the needle in everybody's behavior, and then feed them the appropriate content and micro steps. Just to give you an example, we have tens of thousands of stories, new role models, but I want to know, what story should I give Danielle? What story should you see in the app? If I know through machine learning, through technology, that you admire, let's say, Jeff Bezos, I may feed you a story that Jeff Bezos wrote on Thrive about why he gets 8 hours of sleep, because it improves his decision making. And that may move the needle for you if you thought that sleep is for losers, or that if you're going to be super achieving, you can't afford to sleep. If you are my daughter, and I know from the feedback loops I'm getting from our technology that you admire Selena Gomez, I may feed you a story Selena wrote about why she practices digital detox, so that she's not perpetually living on her phone, tracking social media, which we're all slightly addicted to, but which can undermine our health and our mental health and our focus. So I think this is the paradox we're living through. We need to recognize that in order to be the best leaders we can be, we need to connect with our own inner strength and resilience. But we also can use technology to help people achieve healthier behaviors. What I have discovered through all the work I've done all these years is that to really achieve behavior change, which is one of the hardest challenges, we need to bring together the latest science of micro steps, daily tiny incremental changes, together with storytelling, because people learn through stories, and ancient wisdom. There is tremendous ancient wisdom in the world. Whatever spiritual tradition we practice, or even if we practice no spiritual tradition, whether it's the Stoic philosophers or the Tao in China, or Zen in Japan, or the Bhagavad Gita in India. It's kind of amazing how in every tradition we basically have the same conclusion, that by virtue of our birthright, to have this inner place of wisdom and strength and resilience, we need to give ourselves a little time to connect with it. And we talked a lot about leadership. My favorite leader, especially during this time, I have his book on my nightstand, and I read 1 or 2 pages every night. is actually a Roman emperor called Marcus Aurelius,
Wow.
who was also a Stoic philosopher.
Mhm.
He ruled Rome for 19 years. During 14 years of that, Danielle, he had to face a terrible plague. I hope ours isn't going to be 14 years. But he wrote this book called Meditations, in which he talked about how every day he would make a point of connecting with what he called his inner citadel and rule from that place, instead of from the frenetic place that so many leaders lead from, which is obviously not the place from which you make the best decisions.
Mhm. Mhm.
So this is really an incredible time, and the reason I'm just so excited about the work we are doing is to see the impact it's having on the lives of people, to see the power we have within ourselves to bring these changes in our lives, to learn from each other, to be inspired from each other. And we find that everything can be used for that. I mean, my own social media, if you go on my Instagram account or LinkedIn, that's all I write about, because I want to use every opportunity I have to help people make these small incremental changes in their lives. And I want to invite you and everyone to share your stories on Thrive. We have 36 million users across different platforms, and we see how much people learn from each other. So we can use everything at our disposal to help us, our companies, our families, and our world to move in a direction that is healthier, that is based more on gratitude, and on the recognition that we have an incredible power in us to make these changes, a power that we often have ignored. And now it's time to recapture and bring into our lives every day. Thank you so much, Danielle. I look forward to doing a lot together, and I wish everyone health and safety during these difficult times.
Arianna, once again, it's a privilege to all of us to hear your voice and be inspired about your thoughts and messages around leadership as a whole and female leadership in specific. Good evening to you, and I will switch to Portuguese now, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Bom, para todos aqueles que acompanharam aqui esta maravilhosa conversa com a Arianna Huffington na nossa estreia do Live 2020, muito obrigado. E o Live 2020 começa agora. Esse movimento, nessa liderança feminina em movimento em 4 dimensões, individual, familiar, organizacional e sociedade também, começa agora. Nós teremos vários talks ao longo desse terceiro trimestre e 4º trimestre de 2020. E em 2021, continuaremos essa agenda muito importante. Eu vou passar a palavra agora para o Guilherme Cavalieri, presidente da ABRH São Paulo, para o nosso encerramento. Guilherme, a palavra é com você.
Obrigado, Daniel. May I take the opportunity to have Arianna still connected with us?
Yes.
In behalf of
Yes.
Brazilian HR Association, Arianna, I would like to thank you very much. Wonderful words. I could follow all comments that we receive here while you are both talking, and they are all incredible things. People thank you about your wonderful words, insights, etc. So thank you very much, Arianna. And I can't agree more in all qualities you mentioned about women. I am a father of 3 women, so I can really agree more than all qualities and the power of women to change this world. So thank you very much, Arianna. Thank you for your presence and the wonderful insights to us.
Thank you.
Pessoal, eu, em nome da ABRH, queria agradecer muito a presença de todos vocês essa noite aqui conosco. realmente espetacular estarmos conectados aqui todos, utilizando essa maravilha da tecnologia. Eu queria iniciar esses agradecimentos ao nosso querido amigo Daniel, que está nos recebendo aqui no seu escritório, nessa casa maravilhosa, aconchegante. E estamos aqui por volta de umas 15 pessoas, todas devidamente cuidadas, com máscara. Eu tirei agora só para poder falar, e as pessoas distantes umas das outras. Então, o Daniel está colocando a dele agora. Mas tem sido uma tarde maravilhosa, Daniel. Muito obrigado por todo o apoio que você tem dado a esse nosso projeto, ao Life, realmente espetacular. Quero agradecer também a ONU Mulheres, né, na pessoa da Arianna Carvalho, que tem também apoiado desde o início, desde o momento que a gente iniciou esse projeto, desde a época de Kona Life, agora com Life. E, em especial, queria agradecer muito ao comitê que tornou isso possível, né? A Suzana, no início, já agradeceu individualmente. Eu quero agradecer a Suzana, né, que pilotou e comandou esse comitê de uma maneira espetacular. E a turma está aplaudindo aqui fora, e tem que aplaudir mesmo, porque ela é uma guerreira. O comitê como um todo está fazendo um trabalho maravilhoso, já tinha topado seguir adiante com o Kona Life, reposicionou o Kona Life como Life, e seguiu adiante durante uma pandemia, né? E nós estamos aqui realizando esse evento maravilhoso. Então, realmente vocês são heroínas, muito obrigado aí por fazer isso acontecer para a gente. Eu não podia também deixar de agradecer que está hoje aqui presente, uma presença maravilhosa conosco, o Teunis Marinho, que foi o grande idealizador desse movimento como um todo, desde que começou. Teunis, muito obrigado por você idealizar, por você fazer isso acontecer. Realmente, graças à sua iniciativa de 5 anos atrás, a gente está num novo momento, e eu queria realmente agradecer muito. E, finalmente, queria agradecer aos nossos patrocinadores, né, as empresas que acreditam e que estão acreditando nesse processo como um todo. Já comentei a própria BMI, né, e queria agradecer ao Santander, né, com o patrocínio Ouro, que está fazendo possível a nossa plataforma ir ao ar. E nesse talk especial, a RD e a Magalu, né, que estão patrocinando esse talk. Então, queria realmente agradecer muito vocês a confiança e o apoio que vocês estão nos dando. Como o Daniel já mencionou, nosso próximo encontro será no dia 17 de setembro, né, com as dimensões indivíduo e família. Tenho certeza que vai ser mais um encontro maravilhoso. Então, em nome da ABRH São Paulo, queria agradecer a todos vocês, desejar uma boa noite e nos encontramos no dia 17 de setembro para mais um talk. Muito obrigado, pessoal. Boa noite.